All right, everybody, happy Halloween to all of you. Happy Halloween. It's October 31st, and of course, it's Halloween here in the United States. Hope you're all doing well, and I know that in some countries, Halloween is not necessarily a big thing, but here in America, yeah, we love it. We love it. One of my good friends, Maria, I think she lives for this day. Every year she plans to decorate her house and just goes kind of crazy. So sometimes I like to go there and hang out at her place during the afternoon so we can, give kids their candies. So what's going on? How are you doing? Welcome back to the Coffee Q&A. The Coffee Q&A is your daily dose of coffee Q&A here Monday through Friday, 10 a.m. Eastern time here on the OnoCoffee channel. I'm Jay, your host. How you doing? Bryant, good to see you, man. How's everything up in New York? Hope things are well. So today, I thought we'd do a little bit different. I know yesterday I talked about doing a mocha, but I think we're going to push that to tomorrow because while that is a candy kind of aspect, I thought this topic has more of a horror aspect because it's Halloween. And you know what? Maybe we can get resurrected tomorrow. Dana's with us. What's going on, Dana? And Maku, hello. Good morning to you. As you can see, I'm wearing my Battlestar Galactica green BBUs. I'm a big fan of Battlestar Galactica, both the 1977 version and the 2003 version. Love them both for different reasons, different eras. The first Battlestar, much more optimistic. Second Battlestar, very, very pessimistic, right? We're post 9/11, and everything was just all dank and dark, and just really reflected that. Now, when I think about it, 2003, 1977, 25 years was the separation between the original series and the new one, something like that, right around that time. We are now in 2024, we're at least 20 years away. So we're 21 years now since the first debut. We are almost at the same distance from the second Battlestar as the second was from the first. And I just think that's kind of crazy. That's kind of crazy. Devin, how are you, man? Good to see you, Devin. And Marco says, I've only seen the 2003 version and loved it. If you love the 2003 version and you go back and you watch the 1978 version, you might find it campy. But if you're like me and you grew up watching it and that was your introduction to Battlestar, it was like, oh my gosh. And so a lot of people were like, ooh, boomer, Grace Park. They were all like, oh my gosh, she's so beautiful, right? My generation, we were like, ooh, Jane Seymour, she's so beautiful. Jane Seymour was in the original movie, and then there was, of course, the girl that played Athena in that movie, Marion Jensen, and then there was the girl that just told the Vipers they could launch. I had such a big crush on her back then. I was like, oh my gosh, she's so cute. She's like the girl next door. I totally would love to meet her. But if you ever so I don't know. If you've only seen the 2003, I don't know if you should watch the original. I mean, it might be good to watch the original just to get a feel for where it came from, but I don't know if you'll find it as compelling as I did. And of course, the original, the 2003 would not exist had it not been for the original, of course, right? And then probably that would have not existed if Star Wars and then Star Trek before that hadn't existed. But they have been talking about doing another reboot. And I was always thinking, God, we just had the 2003 one. Then I was like, oh my gosh, it's already, how many years later? Dana's asking, so we're expecting a third. I think they've been talking about it. I don't know who's going to run it. I don't know much about it. I've seen all of the 2003 version, but just a few of the OG. If you decide to watch, there's the original run from 1978 to 1980, or 1978 to 1979. Then it got canceled. And then they brought it back in 1980 where the Galactica, I'm not going to give any spoilers. So, the Galactica in the 2003 version finally gets to Earth. And it's 150,000 years ago, right? So just at the dawn of when, we made the transition to Homo sapiens. And it kind of gives the explanation that it is the Battlestar Galactica, the people of Caprica and the colonies that are the seeds of life of human life on our planet. And And imagine the thought of you actually being genetically descended from Gaius Baltar is kind of horrific, right? But in the original version, there's the second series, Galactica, and then Galactica 1980. The Galactica arrives on Earth, but arrives on Earth in the year 1980, and they spend that season kind of hovering around the planet, staying outside of the radar of like whatever rudimentary like space radar we had at the time, which we probably didn't really have that much of anything. And they would come and do excursions onto the planet, which, let's be honest, it sucked. Nobody liked it. There's only one episode that's worth watching, and that is the episode that explains what happened to Starbuck. Right, Dirk Benedict at the time played Starbuck. Very, again, had it not been for Dirk Benedict Starbuck, Katie Sackhoff Starbuck would have been very different, very different. Marcus says the third version would be VR. That would be kind of epic. Anyone else a Futurama? I've never seen Futurama. I've only seen things, and I do mean Face, the 18, another epic 80s series. I love that. For me, it was 18, Battlestar Galactica, Three's Company, which I watched many years later, after I was well into my adulthood. And I remember it being like utterly shocked at the innuendo, and I was like, "Oh my gosh!" Like, but when you're like 8 years old, that innuendo flies over your head. It's just like, it's just funny. Jack Tripper's a funny guy falling down, And then you see Mr. Roper. He's all like, "What's going on with Jack guy, this gay guy?" And then I totally missed all that innuendo when I was a child. Anyway, so today's topic starts because one of my clients called me and they're like, "Hey, we have a little bit of an issue." And, they had a pretty large staff, so a lot of people are in the works. And where they had their coffee stored was under this pipe that was leaking, and nobody realized it. And it had been leaking onto the coffee. And so we send to our wholesale clients coffee typically in buckets, 5-gallon buckets, which holds roughly 15 pounds of coffee. So they're like, they call me, they're like, "We've got a problem." I was like, "What's going on?" They're like, "Well, the coffee has gotten wet. It's gotten wet." What? They explained to me what happened. I was like, "Oh my gosh, that's terrible." So we ended up bringing them more coffee, of course, but they didn't use it. I said, "Well, we're not I can't get some coffee to you for another day. What should we do?" And I was like, "Well, maybe you could dry it out, like take some of it, spread it onto a baking sheet and let it sit on paper towels and let it air dry. Or you could put it into a 175-degree oven." And I didn't tell them this part, but I was thinking about it. You do a 175-degree oven and kind of slowly bake it off, dry it out. And then once it reaches a point of dryness, then you can do that. Now, here's something that you want to make sure and because this all stemmed because they called me first because they were having an issue with their grinder. Like their grinder, they're using a Malkonig E54, S54, and it's for the decaf. And they were like, "Oh, it's not grinding." And I'm like, "What do you mean it's not grinding?" It's like, "It's not coming out. We're grinding." And they even sent me they FaceTime me, and I was like, "What in the world is happening there?" I'm like, these are issues I've never seen before. I'm like, man, I'm really kind of like stumped on this one, right? And then she went to go check the she said, "Oh my gosh, the coffee's wet." And I was like, "Oh no." So if you have wet coffee, don't put it in your grinder, especially like a feeder grinder, because it will gum up your grinder, and then it just becomes a battle to ungum it. And so if that does happen to you, what you want to do is take as much of the coffee out as you can, put some dry rice in it, and or wait to open it up as much as you can. Wait like a day for it to kind of dry out. Then put some rice in it and start to grind. Crank your coarseness to full coarse, and then start coming down. And as you can see it, you'll see it come out. It'll be clumpy, and then you'll get to the rice, and it'll start to like be salt and pepper, and then it starts to become more white. Once you've gotten it to run smoothly, then you can put the coffee back in. But if that happens to you, that's what happens. But when I finally went down, or you microwave it, that's when I finally went back down to the location to go see what happened, they still had some coffee left. And I looked at it and I was like, oh my gosh, that's horrific. Like, I know they didn't serve any of it. They actually stopped service completely on the decaf for the last 2 days. And I was like, oh my gosh. So I thought that I would share it with you today and we could talk about it because it's Halloween and we're looking for grotesque and horrific things on All Hallows Day, right? Dana says, at CQA, I aged some coffee at high humidity and it definitely gummed up the grinders. Yeah, you have to be careful. You don't, once you've roasted the coffee, right? You roast it when we get the coffee green, we want it to be somewhere around 10% humidity, no more than 11, 9.5 would be all right. And then we roast it. The process of roasting actually reduces your humidity down to 2 to 3%. Now, when the coffee is green, and it's got that much humidity, it doesn't mold. Hopefully it doesn't mold. If it's higher humidity, it will mold. But at that humidity level, that moisture content, the beans are dense enough that it doesn't mold. But now that we've reduced it, now we've driven the moisture out of it down to 2 to 3%. If you introduce water into it, of course it's hygroscopic, so it's going to pull it in, and then it just becomes. Then now you have uncontrolled, and like mold will grow, and it's not very pleasant. Dana says, your Filipino ancestors are cursing you for telling people to waste perfectly. Yeah, they definitely are. They definitely are. We age in a sealed container with 63% humidity pack. Ooh, yeah, that would be, I would think that's too much. You know, like one of those bovedas, if you put the boveda in it, that's a little bit too much. I would think. Okay, so here is the coffee in question. 5-gallon container. There's not that much left. I mean, they had used most of it, but let us have a look. Let us have a look here. You like my sticker? Please return to Spro. Ooh, look at that. So terrible, so terrible. I mean, it is just like, oh my gosh. Like, I'm scared. Doesn't smell significantly horrifying. But let's have a look at the beans more closely. I'm gonna get a scoop of it out here. Oh yeah, look at that. Gosh, it's really messed up. Like, I'm gonna throw this away after we're done here today, but I wanted to show you. Like, you can see when the coffee gets, okay, so before you guys start saying, oh, your roasting is very uneven, this is all evenly roasted. I roasted this myself. But what happens when you get water on it, it does darken the bean. And you can see here, look, look at that, there's mold. I should probably be wearing a respirator around this, but, you know, it's Halloween, and we're adventurous types here. And this is YouTube because, you know, YouTube, we want to, you know, razzle dazzle. So now we're going to measure out some of this lovely coffee into our lovely fellow scale and see how it performs. How bad is the mold? Now, I'm going to go with some very unscientific thinking. Oh, 24 grams, perfect. Now, this is by weight. So remember, this is heavier than regular coffee. So quantity-wise, it's actually less coffee than we would normally use. And actually, if you look at it here, that looks like a lot less coffee than we normally would put in here. How can we compare this? Like, if I was to take this, right? And I was to take this fresh coffee, this is fresh espresso that I'm going to use for tomorrow. And if we put this, now it's not apples to apples because, you know, it's a tear. Because they're different vessels. So you're not going to get exactly the same look. Whoop. Okay, so 24, more or less. Let's do this. Let's do this. We've got this other monkey pod bowl. I'm gonna put them together. Okay, so here, this is the damaged coffee, and this is the fresh coffee. So, yeah, you can see there's quite a lot more coffee here than here because of the weight difference. This is why humidification of coffee, well, here it just shows that if you had hydrated your coffee for some reason, by accident, you would and tried to do what we're doing here, weighing it out by weight, you would actually be brewing less coffee than this. Now, this is something that we really consider in green coffee buying. This is why we want to have it somewhere at 10% humidity, because we're buying coffee based on weight. And coffee at a certain hydration, as we can see here, will give you so much volume. Whereas this, let's say this one here, this is I would say that's at least 3/4 this, right? So this is 0.75 of this. If we had coffee, if we're buying coffee by weight, like green coffee, and it's 15% humidity, we're getting less coffee, but because and we're also risking this mold. So there's some issues that could happen when it comes to these kind of things. You know what? I'm just gonna, I'll take care of that later. Anyway, so we've got our coffee. We're gonna grind it. We have to grind it. Now, I'm a little bit scared to put this coffee through any of the regular grinders. Maku says, if you market properly, you can sell for $200 a cup. It's exotic probiotic. Oh, this is probiotic decaf. So not only is it ethyl acetate sugarcane processed decaf from Colombia, but it's also probiotic. Oh, I love that. I love that. I love that. Okay, well, I'm not going to throw that away. Place your orders today. So I'm going to grab this little Waring commercial grinder that I have here. This is the grinder we use in our kitchens at Spro. It's a really great grinder. If you want a whirly-bird grinder. So, you know, my crew would use this for, like, you know, spice crushing or whatever like that. And like we'd make chives. We would make our own fresh chives. We'd take all of our spices, put them in here, blitz them, pulverize them a bit, and then disperse that into the tea. Because we would actually make the chive totally from scratch. I'm coughing probably because of the mold that's lining my lungs and going to kill me. Okay, so here we are. We've got this, and we're going to, this is not going to be the perfect grind, but, you know, just so that we can see what it's all about. And another reason I wanted to use this is because I can clean this very thoroughly. Like I can run this through very hot water, where if I can't really, it's much harder to clean the fellow, and I don't want to risk having, I don't know, whatever potential biohazard may be in here. Okay, so I'm willing to, like, drink it once, but not tomorrow. Okay, so we're just going to use this and grind. Whirly-bird grinder. This is the grinder that everybody in coffee hates because it is incredibly inconsistent. Now, the problem here is that it's only 24 grams by weight, so it's a very small quantity, so it's going to be difficult to get really good. You can see how it's just being thrown around in centrifugal form. Doing things like, you know, grinding spice. I'm probably going to get hate from McCormick people for this, but, you know, we don't worry so much about it because we're just kind of putting that out there. Of course, even if you're grinding allspice, you probably want to have somewhat consistent grinding. Like if I had black pepper, I wouldn't like this. Oh yeah, look at that. That's more like, that's terrible. This takes a long time. Scared to sniff because, now that we've been polarizing the coffee that has all this mold on it, I can only imagine the mold is now suspended in the environment in this chamber, and all I should do is just like inhale that into my lungs. All right, we're gonna go with that. Okay, we're gonna go with that. Ooh, there's gonna be a lot of dishwashing today. How does that look? To you? Oh, you can feel it's warm. Wow. Huh. That's just from, it's pretty warm. Like it feels warm to my hand. So that means we're talking, it's probably around 100 degrees. All from grinding the coffee. And I wonder if it's this way because it's a wetter coffee, so denser, more difficult to grind, so it's just generating more heat against the side of the stainless steel cup. That's the nice thing about. By the way, that's the nice thing about these wearing commercial ones. Like these, you can get multiple cups for these. We've got like 3 or 4 of these, and it's all stainless steel, so totally washable, and you totally like unlike a plastic that perhaps could hold some flavor or aromas. The stainless is fairly neutral. Okay, so. We've got that. Let's reheat our water. Today we're going to use the Hario Pegasus dripper because, well, the Pegasus. And like in case this ends up being my demise, the sweet chariot, the Pegasus will pull the sweet chariot that will swing low and take me to the next life. All right, so we got our knockoff Hario, whatever this is called. What do you guys call this? Kettle, brew kettles. I really like this one, by the way. I really like it a lot. Okay, ooh, look at this. This is the big one. This is the big. Okay, we are boiling water, and we need a filter. Okay, filter. Again, we're using this is just the cheap generic ones. These are, typical Melita. And that's the nice thing about the Hario Pegasus, that it uses the Melita style flat bottom filter or flat wedge filters. So put that in there, add the coffee. Oh, it's very coarse. That looks like we should be brewing like French press or something. Okay, then we're going to need our fit kettle. Our water is nicely at a boil now, so let's put that in here. Oh, you know what I forgot to do? Son of a gun. Okay, tear that out. All right, we're just going to pretend that's the right amount. Hit that button. Now we're ready to brew. And let's do it. Let's do it. We're going to brew here. I'm going to try to go very slowly. Of course, it doesn't matter because it's going to fly through this grind. It's going to fly through it. Fly. Always brew French press. We should probably brew French, but then, then I have more to clean and try to prevent from getting some kind of illness from this coffee experiment. I'm also betting on the fact that, 180 degree water is going to be better than, hopefully will be enough to kill any kind of bacteria that may be present, the mold, although having recently taken the Serve Safe Safety Training recertification course, I don't think that's the case. But you know what? This is YouTube, and if it helps us get 1 million subscribers, we will do it. Also, another thing about the nice thing about this particular Pegasus brewer, unlike the V60, this has smaller orifices, so it does retard the flow a little bit more. Now, of course, as you can see, it's flying. We're flying today. We're flying through this. We are well ahead of the curve. 211 grams, 100, 1 minute, 20 seconds. We are so fast. But you know what? That's just how it is, man. That's just how it is. We're hardcore like that. That reminds me, I have to go to REI and get some more butane cartridges for my pocket rocket stove. And a friend of mine was kind enough to give me a, what's it, Creality Ender 3 3D printer yesterday. I was like, what? I said, thanks, man. Yeah, that's what she said. That's what she said. That's what we hope for. That's what we hope for. No, that's terrible. That's terrible. This is a family channel. We shouldn't be talking like that. That's one thing. Like I do try to keep not the content, but at least the level of discussion or the language to be relatively, like, a lot of YouTubers will use a lot of profanity in their videos. I try not to. If you know me in real life, I'm actually very profane in real life. Like, there's nothing better than expressing yourself through expletives. I really find a great joy. I wish that I had been able to learn French so that I could wax expletives in luxuriant fashion. Like, that would just be lovely, lovely. Especially like in the Matrix, where the Merovingian does. Oh, that's so lovely, so lovely. Wish I could do that. Okay, so we've finished, and we're at. Oh, did we finish? Oh no, we didn't finish. 361 is our target, although it is a little bit more than we need to. Okay, so let's wait that there. Devin says that I hope you don't end up in Chubby Emu's channel. I'm not familiar with Chubby Emu. I'm gonna have to check it out. But yeah, one thing I don't understand is I guess because I come from a broadcast background, so I've done radio and television in my past, and so when you're in that world under the FCC, like you really can't. Like they will get the tape and find you. So you have to try to keep it as clean as possible. So I'm used to it, and that would be back when I was starting out, that was the hallmark of a professional, right? Like you could carry on conversations on air without resorting to that. But in real life, man, I love it. Love it. Okay, here it is, our brewed coffee. Hopefully the mold has been filtered out by the filter. I probably should have done 2 filters. If I was smarter, I would have done 2 filters. But I'm not that smart. But you guys know that because you've been watching for a while. Marcus says, you just want to know French so you can say, pardon my French after. Pardon my French, please. That's very true. It's very true. It does have a funky aroma. That's different than the way the decaf is typically supposed to smell. And Dana says, this is how the X-Men started. Ooh, if I end up with yeah. Here's the thing. If this somehow changes my bone structure to what, vibranium? Is that what they're using? Is that what they put in Wolverine with the things? I will be on a rampage and have that regenerative thing. Oh. We will be I'll be going around the world just be like, what? What are you drinking? Whoosh. Whoosh. But I'll be honest, I'm a late comer to the Marvel thing, right? Like I'm an MCU kind of fan. Like I was not a Marvel fan growing up. Like I had some of the comics. My cousins were super into it. Like they were, like if ever I need to like ask them questions about Marvel or DC, I just go to them and be like, dude, what's up with that? And like when I went to go watch the Wolverine Deadpool movie, right? So Wolverine putting on the yellow suit. To me personally, Wolverine wearing the yellow suit or Hugh Jackman wearing the yellow suit is not a big deal. Like it's just like, okay, that's cool. But I knew just from like knowing, just tertiarily knowing the comics on the perimeter of my existence, I knew that for like the Wolverine and X-Men fandom, that was just like, psh. I would like to fit into a Wolverine suit, but we're not there yet. That's why I wear the uniform of the chief. He's a little bit pudgy. Dana says that not all mutant superpowers are cool. Remember, no, I don't remember. Sorry, I'm not that good. I'm not that good in that world. But yeah, I guess that's true. But hopefully, God willing, I'll get cool superpowers. X-ray vision would be nice. It does have a funkiness. Marco says mold spores. But aren't the spores like filtered out? Like this is the sketchy science that I'm basing all of this on. Dana says in the high humidity aged coffee Kira did had a wet wood flavor to. Oh, well, let's find out if we have wet wood going on here. Okay, let's pour it out. Let's have a look at our elixir. Now, clarity-wise, looks fairly nice. I don't see any kind of moldiness. Well, it doesn't. Oh, maybe it is a little bit extra. Maybe it is a little bit more cloudy. Look at that. Maybe that's the mold. I think that's the mold. Okay, here we go. Okay, it's not. I'm expectorating not because it's horrific or anything like that. I'm expectorating because, even though I just swallowed a little bit of the residual with saliva at that moment, I'm also like, well, I don't want to like, I can spit and be a quitter. I'll be a spitter and a quitter today because, if there is some true like detriment to health, I would like not to have to afford Montezuma's revenge today. So, compared to the regular decaf, it's very soft. I'm not getting this wet wood flavor that Dana and Keone had. But it's not terribly enticing either. It's soft. It's fairly neutral. Yeah, that's really kind of what I can say about it. Little moldy spores of bacteria are probably invading through my capillaries at the moment. Well, we'll find out. I will let you know tomorrow. Or if I don't have a live stream tomorrow, you'll know that something had happened. Which would be a shame because tomorrow we're making Hershey Kisses mochas, which I'm really excited about. So I would be supremely disappointed if I was unable to fulfill that thing. All right, well, that's pretty much it. First of all, the basic premise here is don't drink moldy coffee. Don't do it. It's not, if you have moldy coffee, throw it away. I don't know truly the health risk, but just throw it away. Why risk your life on it? It's just coffee. You can buy more. You can buy more Folgers if you really have to for a day, or you can go to the Wawa or the grocery store or whatever. You can get something for a day until you get your regular shipment back in. The back, I'm saying this now, maybe this is not even real. Maybe this is just, that kind of nervous angst, but the back of my throat feels scratchy. That one says, was this mostly before or after roasting? Gosh, I hope it's before. I hope it's after. So had there been mold on the coffee beforehand, we would have discarded it. Okay, that's definitely a place where you get mold on your coffee and it's overtly wet and it's getting moldy. You got to toss it. We toss it. I would never roast that. Well, I would never roast that for a client or for guests or for service. I might roast it in a small sample roaster just to see how it would taste. But I wouldn't with mold. I think that from that point, from a safety standpoint, it becomes a question of I think it's to me, it's like dereliction of what you're doing, right? Like you're just potentially endangering your guests, and I wouldn't do that. So that's why, you want to. Yeah, I would not do that. But to answer your question, it is after roasting. So the coffee was delivered to them in this bucket here. And, there's only maybe 3 pounds, 2-3 pounds left in the bucket. Full, it's 15 pounds. So they went through most of it. And then they had their problem. They had the issue with whatever water leaking onto it for whatever reason. And that's when the mold formed, right? That's when the spores started to form. And actually, when they called me, because it took me a couple of days to get to them, because over the weekend I had so much scheduled. And when they first had the problem and they put the coffee outside, it hadn't molded. The more mold had formed over the last couple of days because it's fairly warm environment, and fairly wet. So I'm gonna transport it back to our workshop and clean it all up and dump the coffee out. And it was kind of horrific. Malky says, fun way to start Halloween day. Yeah. By this afternoon, I'm going to have, some kind of, it'll be fine. No problem. All right. It's Halloween. Go get candy or something. How's Halloween in your parts of the world? Like when we took my niece and nephew many years ago in 2015. 2014. Took my niece and nephew to, they were living in Manila at the time, so it's not as a journey, to Tokyo for Halloween. And back then, I think Halloween has grown a lot more. Back then, Halloween was really only this one little neighborhood. So we went there, had a nice time. It was a nice time. I'm always curious to see how people celebrate Halloween. I'm always curious to see how people celebrate different holidays in other parts of the world. Like, I've been away during American Thanksgiving. Of course, American Thanksgiving, that's the biggest holiday in the United States, right? Everybody's going to see family and getting together. And I'm flying away to go be alone for work, right? So it's interesting to see that, here it is. Thanksgiving in Africa is just another day here. No big deal. At least at the hotel that I was staying, fancy hotel, the Kampala Serena. They actually had on the restaurant buffet, they were like, we have turkey today and all the stuffing. I was like, it's kind of nice. That's kind of nice. But yeah, I think it's interesting when you're away on holidays, traveling, and seeing how other people live and how other people celebrate those days. Like when I'm in the Middle East, I expect most specifically in Saudi Arabia, their work week, their weekend is what? Friday, Saturday, instead of Saturday, Sunday. Sunday, everybody's back to work. So I was like, interesting. So different how things are here. All right, so I'm going to go and get some candy, and I actually going to get me a planer. I found this guy on Facebook Marketplace that's going to sell me a Makita electric planer for 20 bucks. I was like, 20 bucks, that's worth it. Don't know what I'm going to do with it, but we'll find out. All right, that's it for today. Thank you very much for tuning in. Be back again tomorrow with another coffee Q&A, 10 a.m. Eastern. So hope you have a wonderful day or a wonderful evening. Hope your day was already a great one. And we're back again with more coffee Q&A. See you next time. Thanks, Dylan.